Hello, it's Kevin from patient.dev, your go-to place for building patient and provider health IT apps. And today we're going to talk about how you integrate into an electronic health record. So this is decidedly not about patient access. Patients obviously would not be inside of a GUI created by Cerner or Epic or Allscripts. This is in response to a lot of messages I get on LinkedIn about small companies, large companies trying to take their product and put it inside of the electronic health record and not quite sure what it looks like or where it goes, and a lot of times not quite aware of the implications of the decision of where you actually put it inside of an electronic health record. So I have on patient.dev a integration cheat sheet to kind of get you thinking about, hey, my app, where is it actually going to live and how are people going to access it? Most of the startups I talk to, they want their app within the workflow. They don't want it a standalone thing. A lot of times they already have this thing that they've developed, and now they want to kind of put it into the EHR and have it in the physician workflow or the nursing workflow. And where does that show up exactly? Well, my handout that you can find at patient.dev has that. So you could do it in multiple ways. I go over 4 here. The first and probably easiest way of integrating, at least inside of Cerner's electronic health record, is within the chart itself. So you got to imagine a provider, a physician, a nurse goes into the electronic health record, finds a patient, and opens their chart. And what you see here is there's a blue banner bar saying this is Jane Doe and this is her date of birth. And over on the left side, there's a bunch of things that person can do, like look at labs or notes or look at the meds or open your FHIR app. So by clicking on an embedded link inside of the patient's chart, so the patient is in context, your FHIR app can know this patient identifier and what encounter it's open on. What you do is you embed it right there on the left side of the patient chart, and when you click on it, you have all this white space inside this iframe that is your app. It's served out by your servers on AWS or Azure or wherever you're hosting your thing. You control this, right? And it is very much about one patient and information about that one patient. Maybe it's about their pacemaker. Maybe it's about their upcoming appointments. You can query and display your UI here on that specific patient. The other place you can embed your app is in the provider workflow. For those of you not familiar, at least in Cerner's electronic health record, they have this concept of a workflow where you basically have like some information about the patient and then their meds and then maybe something about prior visits or prior diagnoses. And then you have a place where you can like chart on stuff and chart like a history of the present illness or review systems or a physical exam. You can embed your app inside of this workflow. So right next to where a provider would be documenting their note potentially about this patient encounter. Again, this is going to be about one patient and it's going to be right in the workflow. I will say a caution here is that health systems generally are very protective of this space because you can imagine every app wants to be here. And if you have 10 FHIR apps, and the workflow just becomes really, really, really long, then providers kind of get angry, right? And also, if you launch your app on this provider workflow, it's going to launch every time they open it, regardless of whether it's relevant or not. So maybe you're doing something in internal medicine, and for some reason your app is in the OBGYN's workflow. You're just going to be eating up resources. And potentially, if your site goes down, kind of providing a terrible user experience to the provider. The other place where you can embed your FHIR app is as a link inside of another page. So here we're in a chart again. We're in Jane Doe's chart, and there's an href to your app. And what the user does is they're already in this other page and they click here, and then you're able to take over all this space here, right? So kind of similar to here where you click over there, but it would be a link inside of another page inside of the EHR. Kind of the same amount of area. It should be noted these provider workflow areas, they're really tiny and small, much smaller than if you were to embed over here or down as a link. So just to be cognizant of for your user experience and how much space you have to show people. The other option I'll mention, and these are not all the options, but these are the main things I see people doing, is by embedding your app in the toolbar, which would give you the ability to launch outside of a particular patient. So maybe you have a app that does something with aggregating a bunch of results on a bunch of different patients, like all their hemoglobin A1Cs because they're diabetic or something like that. What you would do is embed your link to your app inside of one of the buttons on the toolbar, and then it would launch and it wouldn't know what patient, which is exactly what I described. You have a whole list of patients in their hemoglobin A1C. So this would be agnostic to the particular patient that may be open or that the provider may be seeing. This is more of an organizer type view. One of the advantage of this is that you have a lot of space to work with. You don't have this kind of picker over on the left-hand side of a patient's chart, and you don't have their banner identifying a patient. You have all this space to work with. But then again, like you're responsible for having all the patient information on all those multiple patients in your standalone system somewhere. Because FHIR currently, as of 2020, does not support like bulk queries or being able to query across multiple patients at a time. So I hope you find this interesting, and if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn or at patient.dev, I'm happy to do a one-on-one sometime with you if you're having problems imagining how you're integrating inside of an EHR. All right, thanks.